can all join palms and repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Buddha.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
Keeping the palms joined. Put palms down. All right, good morning, everybody. Nice to see you all. Thank you for showing up. Thanks for being here. Who's here for the first time? A couple of you. All right. Well, welcome for you first timers. Yeah, I was debating. Normally I sit down here and truly every day I have no idea what I'm going to say, and then stuff just comes out. And today I actually had an idea of what I was going to say, and this entire time was just resisting whether or not I was going to say it. I also tend to just sit down here and share what's on my mind, which is why you're getting the backstory. And so I guess I'm going to go ahead and share it since I've come this far with it, right? Or I could just stop now and everybody would just be annoyed, you know? Yeah, wondering. Yeah, I wasn't going to share it because it's a very thing about me and something I did, and I don't typically share things like this. But when it happened, I thought about this, and so I was like, okay, well, should I share this or not? And obviously, it's still on my mind, so I'm going to share it. But when I started this journey, 2003. So 23 years ago at Shifang Temple, right down the street, Taiwanese Buddhist temple, which is very dear to my heart, always has been, still is. And their monastery I lived at, was in Taiwan. And so that was kind of my life prior to, us starting this place. And I still remember when I first showed up at that temple, again, 2003. And the nun, my teacher, Venerable Ijir, Taiwanese Buddhist nun, very early on, without going into all the backstory, the message she gave me from pretty much day one was, Jeff, go help people. Just go help people. Figure out every day what you can do to help people, and in any way you can. And at that point in time, my life was great. Actually, on the surface, life was great, but I was miserable. I was depressed. I was sad. I was angry. I was still, living with a crazy head. Well, I still live with a crazy head, but I'm happy. So we've got that progress so far. But and she said, just go help people. And so I remember, and I've shared some of these stories before, but going up and down Park Boulevard, the temple was right on Park Boulevard. So going up by Balboa Park and seeing people who needed help, if they were pushing a electric wheelchair, just the most random things. Now, not in a very obtrusive, weird way, randomly going up to people and helping people, but trying to identify when and where and how people need help and just helping them. And so that was my practice early on for a very long time. That was all she said, go help people. It wasn't do more meditation. It wasn't read more books. It wasn't study this sutra. It wasn't memorize this thing. It wasn't go to this place. It was simply go help people. And that became my practice, again, for the first couple of years. And then, life happens, we start this place. And so much of my practice is still that way, but sometimes I lose focus. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but sometimes I think I guess I lose immediate focus, and I'm more focused on big picture helping people. How do we keep this place going? What do we do in here? So it's big stuff, not moment to moment little stuff as much. And that's been on my mind recently in another way. But so what happened this morning was an example of that. And it was really crazy. And when I finish the story, you'll understand why. So do my morning routine. I'm at the gym. I'm sitting in the sauna, and I'm trying to figure out how to describe this. But I'm over here. That work for you? I'm on this side. Picture a square or whatever. I'm on this side. There's a person standing here. There's 3 seats right here. A person comes in. It's pretty crowded in a small space. A person comes in. There was access to sit down right here. And I'm not telling this story to make me sound like some great person. So if you're thinking that, great, whatever, I don't care. Maybe I am. But regardless, there's like 3 seats right here. I'm over here. I realize this person is really awkward and uncomfortable and like looking, trying to see like, is there a seat there? And there's like 6 feet of space, right, in a crowded room. And she was trying to make eye contact with the person that was, the woman that was standing there. There was no budging, right? It was almost like these 2 were now in a stare down. This person didn't want to give access to these 3 seats, had no interest in sitting there. And this person was just stuck. And I'm over here watching this. And I find myself at this moment kind of judging the whole situation. Like, why don't they just go here? Why doesn't this person just move? They see what's happening. It's so like obvious, right? At least in my mind. So I'm sitting there kind of judging the situation. And then I'm like, and then Venerable Ijur popped into my head. And I was like, what can I do? How can I help this situation? So I quickly looked at it, right? And I realized if I got up and sat over here behind this person, because I could get access to these seats over here without, and I didn't want to like crowd this person's space and make them feel awkward or uncomfortable, but I could kind of sneak around this way where they saw me. I could sit down, and then this person would have easy access to that seat. So much so that when I got behind them, I had strategically thought this through in a matter of like 30 seconds. Now that I'm behind this person, I could then point to that person facing me and say, go sit over there. So then that person looked at me like kind of unsure, because that was really odd for them, I'm sure. And then they just went and sat down. And I had no interaction with the person. No, it was like, I went back into my own little, quiet world sitting there. And it was the craziest thing how it reminded me how, for myself, and I think so many people right now, everybody is trying to help so many big things, or thinking about so many big things and wanting to help so many big things. Punch the monkey. The entire world wants to say punch the monkey. If you don't know who I'm talking about, Google it. You'll figure it out. Who here knows punch the monkey? Really? Only a handful of you? Y'all really got to spend more time on social media. Not like the 80% of you who didn't raise your hands. Maybe you'll get through the next 40 minutes without Googling punch the monkey. But it is the most beautiful Buddhist story. You know punch the monkey? No? Oh, man. See? Now you all want to know about punch the monkey. Thank you. That was even better. That was perfect. So I get this idea of seeing these horrific things that are happening in the world every day and feeling helpless and feeling like you don't know what to do, and then feeling defeated and feeling destroyed and shattered. There's so many emotions going on right now. There always has been, there always will be, but they're about the heaviest I've ever seen in this place in 19 years. And I really believe that if people would spend more time just figuring out in each moment, each situation, which is why I give that ridiculous sauna story, in that moment, that made that person, I of course am assuming, right, a lot of assumptions here, more comfortable. Because instead of awkwardly standing there and having this stare down with this other person, they could just sit down and relax. And every one of us today, I guarantee it, it's like 10 after 11. All day today, you will have moments where you could help somebody, whether you know them or not. Don't freak people out. Don't scare them, right? In a safe, healthy way, right? But just go help people. You'll have all day to do that today. And so many people come here wanting to learn about Buddhism, wanting to learn about meditation, because they're stressed out. They're anxious. They don't know what to do. And all I'm trying to get across to you is the same teaching that got across to me, which was when I go help people, when you go help people, who are you not thinking about? Yourself. And the heart of Buddhist teachings that is so difficult for people to understand because they try to intellectually get it is the teaching of know what? Self. And everybody, not everybody, but so many people try to intellectualize what is no self? Are we not here? Are we here? What is this? Is this an illusion? To me, no self is I'm not seeing the world thinking I'm the most important person in the world. At least I'm not trying to. And that to me is the practice of non-self. So when you do things for other people, you're putting them as a priority, as a focus, as an emphasis. And we all know what it feels like to help people. It feels great. So that's my morning rant. Thanks for showing up. I should just kick you all out to go help people now, right? Like, now we're just going to fall back into the routine. We're going to do a meditation. Everyone's going to sit there and feel like they got quiet for a bit, and then they can say they did their meditation, and then you're going to ask questions about all the problems that are going on, and I'm going to give you a bunch of nonsense back. But at the end of the day, and then the bell's going to hit at 12, and I'm going to try to convince a bunch of you to stay and help clean outside and in the temple. But at the end of the day, all this is about helping people. That is the heart of Buddhist teachings. Right, Justin? Man, that's like the best thing I've ever said, and you just walked in. There are seats if you want one. I think it's recorded. You can stream it. All right, so we're going to start with a meditation practice and get back to what everybody came here for, which is your meditations. You can get quiet and peaceful and make sure you're okay. All right? And to those who are here for the first time, sorry, and you're welcome both at the same time. A couple things to tell you before we begin, and to those joining virtually, glad you're here. You also can help people wherever you are, so go help people. A couple things I'll tell you before we begin, especially for those who are new. Nothing's going to happen to you. You're not going to float away. You're not going to have any mystical, magical experiences. The mind that races all day long is not going to shut off. Don't judge your practice, meaning don't ask yourself, is this working or not working? Are you doing it right or wrong? We're just going to sit. We're going to breathe. You'll hear sounds inside, sounds outside. This is life. Life is filled with chaos. This practice is learning to get quiet and still within all the chaos. Posture, you just want to be comfortable. If you're on a cushion, often it helps slide into the front third, pushing the stomach forward. A bench or chair, just trying to sit up straight, however you're seated. Most important, especially for those who are new, you're not going to shut your mind off. It won't go blanking. Will not think nothing. Your mind will race. I'll say things periodically to remind you lost in thought or wake you up. I'll guide us as we begin, and we'll settle into silence. And starting with the eyes closed, if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth is open or closed. We'll start with taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. And eventually, settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. Noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. Start with gently guiding the attention, focus to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. Breathing out, feel them fall. Simply continue this practice, observing sensation of breath. Expecting nothing but to sit and breathe. And as the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it. Release that thought. Return attention, focus to the breath. Breathing in, follow breath in. Breathing out, follow breath out. letting go of expectations, letting go of judgments from your practice, just sitting, breathing. Learning to be comfortable in stillness, in quiet, wanting nothing but to sit and breathe. And with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle, know what it's like to just sit and breathe. Knowing with each breath, there's nothing else to do. Nowhere else to go. And no one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. And once again, taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And as you slowly open the eyes, slowly beginning to move, and most important, with the practice of meditation, is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after. Compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. Ask yourselves how you'd prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize however you feel now, if it's quiet, calm, and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, has nothing to do with anything you said. It's nothing to do with how you sit, hold the hands or cross the legs. It's nothing to do with the Buddhist statue or anything else for that matter. It has everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, means dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being, no different than any one of us, who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. And what that means, very simply, for all of us, regardless of where you come from or what you believe in and where you think you're going, your whole life is filled with things that happen. You react. More stuff happens. More reactions. That's it. This practice is simply learning what it's like to respond to something quietly, peacefully, still. Because for most of us, the way you responded to the last 20 minutes is quite different from how you respond to every other 20-minute period of your day. And so all we're working on is closing the gap to where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always. Just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives. But with a mind that's steady, clear, focused, distracted by nothing, disturbed by no one. It's not an easy practice. It's not necessarily fun. It's not an escape, as often people think it is. It is direct perception into the present moment. And the present moment, as we know all too well, is filled with conflict, chaos, difficulties, challenges. This is life. This practice is learning to be with life as it arises. Meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. It's just sitting, breathing, becoming aware of what you think, what you say, and what you do in each moment. And that's it. We spend so much time trying to change, fix, control, manipulate everything and everyone around us. And once we stop trying to do that, we focus on our mind, our thoughts, our words, our actions, and what we bring into the world, our life changes. And it does not mean that the thoughts and actions of others around us are not important. They absolutely are. We should not ignore them. We should engage with them. But engage with them from a place of loving kindness and compassion, not from a place of hatred and anger and judgment. So with that, I'll pause. For me, I always really prefer to respond to questions, meditation, Buddhist practice, anything you're sitting with. And we'll use the rest of our brief time this morning for questions. And to those, again, joining virtually, welcome. There's a chat box on your screen somewhere. Feel free to say hello. If you have any questions, you can put them there, and I'll do my best to respond. So we'll open up to questions. Yeah.
I have a question. When I come especially on the noontime meditation, I find myself, there aren't any distractions, and I find myself kind of staring at Kuan Yin.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if it's my many years of being a Methodist or it's the serving church. I kind of find myself falling into, I guess we'd say, prayer. And I know you have said that don't pray to the Buddha. So I'm a little confused about Kuan Yin.
Yeah.
Do people pray to Kuan Yin?
Yeah. Yes, they do. There's a lot of things really funny. A lot of things I can respond to that. So let me kind of paraphrase for those maybe virtually didn't hear, and then I'll add, which ironically, even from my rant this morning about the sauna situation, I forgot the entire best part of the story at the end, which you just brought up. I actually realized I forgot it during the meditation, but I'll comment on that at the end as well. So if I forget again, please tell me. So your question is around noontime meditation, right? So we sit, every day here, Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 and noon to 1. And it's great because there's if there's 5 people here, it's packed, right? Like that's a big crowd for a noontime meditation, right, Paula? There's 5 people. So what that means is you're in this space. It's empty. Some days there's only the volunteer who's leading. And for them, it's just them in this entire space and nothing but the space. And so your question specifically was around Kuan Yin, which is the large statue in the middle behind me. And you said that you find yourself at times, almost like in prayer with Kuan Yin. And you said maybe it's your religious background, maybe this is an old church, maybe it's a combination of all the above. And, you said that, I always talk about people don't pray to the Buddha. Do they pray to Kuan Yin? So every culture is different with Buddhist practice. Without getting into the long-winded part on this, Buddhism has been a religious practice for 2,500 years. In the West, it's not perceived as a religious practice. How many here are Buddhist? You got one hand and another person who's not sure, right? So the people who come here, as you know, this is just for everybody, are not Buddhist. They're Christian, Catholic, Muslim, Jewish, pagan, Mormon, or lack all the above. But religiously, Buddhism is practiced all over the world. And people are very devout with it and very much have a belief in Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and very much do go into prayer and things like that. Now, in the West, as I said, it's not practiced that way. It's seen more as a philosophy and a way of life. But I always like to kind of honor and respect both sides of things. Now, people do absolutely pray to Kuan Yin. She is the goddess of mercy and compassion. Her name literally means hearer of the world's cries, as you know. So she hears all the suffering in the world and then pours out compassion to heal. And she holds a vase, or in this version, pouring out a vase of compassion. So she hears the suffering, pours out compassion to heal. And all over the world for 2,000 years, millions of people have prayed to Kuan Yin for mercy and compassion. So ultimately, to your question specifically, there is no wrong in whatever you are doing. If you find yourself in that place and it's pleasant and comfortable for you, beautiful, right? The reason I harp so much on people don't pray to Buddha is because I want people to understand that when the Buddha was alive as just a human, which he didn't want people to worship him. He was just a dude. He taught a simple way of life. And people asked him, there were like 12 questions he wouldn't answer. And one of them was, do you believe, should we believe in gods and goddesses? They were all Hindu at the time. So the view at the time in India was belief in gods and goddesses. And he, in essence, said, look, I'm just a guy. I can't tell you to believe in gods and goddesses or not. If you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. That's up to you. And so I carry that message into many of the things I say here, where a lot of people who come to Buddhism here, if not all of them, are coming out of some other religious view. And very often they're not so cool with that religious view. So this idea of praying to someone might not sit well with so many people. So all of a sudden you come into Buddhism and somebody's telling you, like, pray to the Buddha. Like, I mean, as I always say, he died 2,500 years ago. He cannot help you. You can pray to him all day long, but you're praying to somebody who died, just so you know. Bodhisattvas, Kuan Yin, those are whole different stories, So I don't know, if I found myself praying to Kuan Yin, I would keep doing it, which brings me to the end of that story, which is this is the best part. As I moved seats, and there was the person standing here, and on their back was a very large tattoo over the left side that to me was a 1,000-armed Kuan Yin Bodhisattva statue, which is this tanka in the back corner there with 1,000 arms. The story behind Kuan Yin is she was pouring out so much compassion, her entire body exploded. So they put her back together, gave her 11 heads and 1,000 arms so she can continue to aid and heal and help in more directions, right? That was the very first tanka we got when we opened the Dharma Bum Temple. And so that, as I moved seats, I sit down and I look up and there she is in front of me, and there's this big 1,000-armed Kuan Yin statue on her shoulder, but there was the shirt strap going through the middle of the face. So I couldn't quite tell if it was a Kuan Yin. And I just had to sit with unknowing. And then I'm leaving. I go in and get my bag. I'm coming out. And sure enough, the same person and I are exiting, and I'm behind her going out of the gym. And I'm like, am I going to follow this person? I really wanted to know. And I found myself getting closer to try to see what the tattoo was, almost to the point where I stopped her to ask. And ultimately it hit me and it said, Jeff, it doesn't matter. So I never found out, but I'm like 99% certain it was a 1,000-armed Kuan Yin tattoo, which was really cool. So whatever you're doing, I think it's great. How do you feel when you do it? Great. You feel peaceful, stick with it. Yeah. And I think also for people who do use Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in what we would call prayer in Buddhism, I know I've been taught this over the years a lot, where you look at Samantabhadra's great diligence and great practice and not giving up on spiritual journey or yourself. You look at Manjushri over here, represents ultimate wisdom and having the wisdom to see through our own ignorance and greed and anger. When people pray to them or offer to them or do anything towards them, for me, it's really been a beautiful way of really cultivating that practice within ourselves. That if someone is against prayer and the idea of praying to a Buddha or a Bodhisattva seems strange, which again, we don't teach here at all, that's fine. But ultimately what we're looking for, what do we really need within ourselves is what we're looking for. So when we call upon Kuan Yin or any Buddhas or Bodhisattvas, to me, it's always been taught that we're really trying to cultivate and call upon a deeper level of wisdom, compassion within ourselves, because that's going to change our lives. And if we change our lives, then we can impact others in a positive way. Yeah.
On the altar in front of the native Buddha, there are two small statues. What do they represent?
Yeah, so there's the two on the sides, the two standing up. The one on this side is Kshitigarbha. His vow is a bodhisattva. Bodhisattvas are enlightened beings, right? It's just a term. Bodhi is enlightened, sattva is being. And so the bodhisattva vow in Mahayana school of Buddhism, one of the three major schools of Buddhism, is to be reborn life after life until all beings are free from suffering, right? For those who aren't into rebirth, which is most people, reincarnation seems weird to most people today. At the time of the Buddha, everybody believed in it. They all believed in reincarnation or rebirth or continuation of consciousness. If you went up to people at the time of the Buddha 500 years before Christ and said you got one life and then you're going to heaven or hell, they would have thought you were weird. Fast forward to today, and you tell people you're going to be reborn or reincarnated or your consciousness is going to continue on, and they think you're on something for the most part, right? But that's what people believed at the time of the Buddha. And in India today, that's what they believe. Western world is like, nah, we got one life, we're going to heaven or hell, and that's it, right? So he was teaching at a very different time. The vow of the Bodhisattva was to continue to be reborn life after life until all beings are free from suffering. A beautiful teaching, and for me, the way I see that, even for those who don't, the rebirth, the reincarnation thing is weird or odd to them, think about every moment as a rebirth. Every day you wake up, if you're fortunate enough to wake up, every day is a new beginning. Every moment ultimately is a new beginning. Every breath is a new beginning. But any anger, sadness, resentment, frustration, disappointment, depression, everything we're carrying within ourselves, every moment is a new moment to come out of that. So every moment is a rebirth, if we see it that way. Then there's Kusiti-Garbha Bodhisattva, that statue on this side of me, the little one. His vow was to be reborn life after life into the hell realms. He was like, yeah, you sentient beings, you got it easy. I'm going to go to the hell where it's really rough. And so the statue right by when you enter the main hall there, right below the calligraphy piece, I've arrived, I'm home. That's another version of Kusiti-Garbha. And he carries a staff to make noise so he wouldn't step on like any creatures in the hell realms, and a pearl to light the way so he could see. Yeah. Ultimately, again, at time of the Buddha, hell realms, all that stuff existed. To us, I see hell realms as, you ever woken up one morning and just felt miserable and feel like you're in hell? And then 5 minutes later, you feel like you're the greatest person in the world. So in our day, I think we go through different realms in our mind. And I think ultimately that's what matters. This one over here is Prashiva Lee. At the time of the Buddha, was a really wealthy, prosperous monk. And was anytime he was around, people always supported the community. And so especially in the Thai forest tradition, if you go to like Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Southeast Asian style temples, you'll see large Prashiva Lee statues as a way of reverence for the kindness of the people that supported the communities. Because without that support, they would have starved. They wouldn't have had land to, build temples, anything. So, yeah. What else? There's a question here, Cinda. Have you found that helping others in Buddhism has been followed by a calming of your mind and or positive changes in your thought processes? Do good deeds lead to good thoughts? Yeah, and that, I didn't really add on to my talk earlier about that, but that was the idea, the teaching of just going to help people was, as I said, when we help people, we tend to feel good. And if we feel good, our thoughts tend to be more pleasant. And if our thoughts are more pleasant, our words tend to be more pleasant. And if our words tend to be more pleasant, our actions tend to be more pleasant. So ultimately, yes, it does come back to having a tremendous benefit on our body, speech, mind, what we think, what we say, and what we do. But again, it all starts with coming out of the focus on the self. You ever just been really miserable and depressed and you're like, yeah, I'm miserable and depressed, but I'm going to get through this. And what are you focused on? The misery and depression. Well, stop focusing on yourself and go help people, and then you feel better. Yeah, maybe an hour later, you're back to being miserable and depressed, but at least you had an hour of feeling good. And so you're building on that. And so it absolutely comes back to help yourself, for sure. What else? Yeah, I just see, go ahead in the back and then we'll go here. I just see a hand. Oh, hi.
Hi.
What's up?
So this is your story about being helpful. Something happened maybe like 5 months ago, and it was really embarrassing at the time for me to talk about. But it's still connected to what you were talking about being helpful and kind. And I'm a big planner. I like to plan and have things work out. And been coming here for a little over a year. I've
gotten a lot better about that. Like, I still like to plan, but if it doesn't work out, I'm like, okay, that's all right, moving on. But the couple months ago, I was on a pretty good roll of making sure I was coming here on Tuesdays, and it was very important to me. And on Tuesdays, I go visit my mom in the UTC area, and I have plans to take the trolley at this exact time, and then I catch a bus, and I can walk and get here on time for Tuesday evenings with me. And I got off the trolley to go to my bus, and I had like maybe 6 minutes for the bus, and there was a man that was standing near me, and he was eating something. He was kind of staring off into space, is what I perceived, and he could sense that I was close to him. And he said hello, and I said hi, and he said, "Do you think you could help me?" And I'm like, "Sure. What do you need?" And he said, "I'm blind, and I need help getting back down to the trolley. I know there's stairs." And my initial thought was, what? I'm going to be late, and I'm not going to be a good person because I won't be at this temple on Tuesday night. That's what was in my mind. It was quick, but it was all encompassing. But I am generally a good person, so I didn't let that thought rule my actions. And I said, sure, I'll definitely love to help you. And I love doing directions and being helpful, and so it was a great opportunity to help. But there really was, in my mind, most of that time, it's like, oh my God, I'm going to miss my bus, and I won't be a good person because I won't be with Chef, and I won't be with you. And I got into the trolley and got it all set up, and we became friends and exchanged names, and it was a great interaction. And then when I left him, I just felt terrible that I had even given 1 second of thought to, that's what I was supposed to do, come to temple rather than And so, oddly, the next bus was a little bit early, and I made it here on time. And then I was like, oh my God, it opened up everything for me. And it changed really how I've seen everything.
Thanks, Dana. Love you. Yeah, I mean, that's it right there. Thank you for sharing. I think the message is obvious, but it really is a lesson for all of us how wrapped up and confused we can get sometimes with our attachment to Buddhist practice, spiritual journey, meditation, whatever it might be. But so thank you for highlighting that, and thank you for being at a place after a while that you could share that story. Thanks, Dana. Tough one to follow, but go ahead.
So I guess I have a question about the practice of meditation.
Yeah.
So when I get close to maybe just being with what is while sitting, oftentimes I'm sort of left maybe feeling a bit emptiness. It doesn't feel like there's compassion there or love there. And I'm wondering, is that something you have to add on to the practice, or something you find in the presence? Or is it something you only find with each other in this room? Or
Sure. Yeah. No, beautiful. So a lot going on there, but let me ask you this first, just so I understand contextually. Meditation practice, been doing it a while, on and off for 5 years, 6 months?
Probably 5 years.
Okay. So a couple things, and I just want to comment, maybe you meant it this way, maybe you didn't, but anytime anyone says the word emptiness in relationship to anything, it always kind of raises red flags to me, because I want to be very clear that emptiness, which is the heart of Mahayana Buddhist teachings, is not nothingness. And I'm not saying you meant it that way, but this is for everybody, that emptiness is actually embracing everything. And so that's one thing. Emptiness is, again, not nothingness. It's not, doesn't exist. The example I always give is if we have a teacup and, we have a cup is filled with tea and we empty the cup. Well, we might say that it's empty, so there's nothing in it. Well, that emptiness is what allows everything to exist. So emptiness is really endless possibilities of everything happening all at once. It's why that was it Everything Everywhere All at Once? Did I say it right? Yeah. That movie, incredible. I mean, ridiculously insane, but also incredible. So emptiness is everything is possible. Now, even going off of that into your example of like kind of sitting in that space, the meditation itself, in my understanding of Buddhist teachings and practice, is not in and of itself going to elicit compassion or anger or joy or sadness. Ultimately, meditation for me as a Zen practitioner, looking at the Anapanasati Sutta, where the Buddha said, if focusing on sensation of breath, if breathing in and taking a short breath, know you're taking a short breath. If you're breathing out, taking a long breath, know you're taking a long breath. So it's simple observation, present time awareness of sensation of breath. When we are abiding in sensation of breath, this thing starts to go crazy. And whatever is in this thing is going to then bring about emotions. So if you're in a really bad mood one day, and like just Karma Lexi Soma, great Tibetan Buddhist non-teacher for 50 years, she used to say an angry person who meditates is just an angry meditator, right? Because what you're really asking to me says, okay, let's look at how do we cultivate compassion? How do we cultivate wisdom? And this is the second noble truth, greed, anger, ignorance, which we overcome with greed is generosity, compassion we use to overcome anger, and wisdom to overcome ignorance. So this cultivation of wisdom and compassion isn't going to come just from sitting and breathing, which is really what the heart of your question is to me. It's going to come from where? Thoughts, words, and actions, what you do. So even going off of what I was saying earlier, when you help people, for example, in any way, how does that make you feel? Put a word to it. Bliss, right? Funny you chose bliss. A lot of people meditate thinking that they're going to reach some state of bliss. And they're like, I'm still pissed off. How come I'm not in a state of bliss yet? So they're sitting there for 30 minutes pissed off that they're still pissed off and not in a state of bliss. And then they go help people for 5 minutes and feed someone. And all of a sudden they're like, I feel blissful. And they're like, meditation doesn't work. There's, again, y'all who do the food distribution program know a lot of people like, that's the only thing around here they do. They don't meditate. They just feed people every week because it makes them cultivate compassion. So to me, the key of sitting in meditation isn't so much to cultivate a certain way of thinking or feeling, but to notice and become aware. So if you're sitting in meditation, all of a sudden your thoughts are like really negative and not so pleasant, then what's your name?
I'm Jared.
Jared, then that's Jared at that moment is filled with anger and negative thoughts. If you're sitting in meditation and all of a sudden you're happy and peaceful and feeling well, then Jared is happy and peaceful and feeling well. But that's because of the mind state that you're in, not because of the meditation practice. Does that make sense? So we cultivate compassion by doing good things to help people. Then sit with that. Help people for 20 minutes or an hour, and then go into meditation. Most people use meditation as a reactive way. It's the way it's taught. Welcome to Western world and America and money. And, you know, everyone's going to tell you you're stressed out, you're miserable. Here's some medication and go do meditation. So we use it as a reactive way to stress and anxiety. But if you help people and you feel blissful, as you just said, when you help people, and then you sit with that blissful feeling, you're just strengthening that cultivation of compassion. It's like you strengthen a muscle, you know? Does that make sense? Yeah. Ultimately, again, this is also for everybody. I think the more we try to use meditation as a way to accomplish something or get somewhere or make us feel a certain way, you're really setting yourself up for ultimate failure. Just use meditation as an opportunity to sit and let things attempt to settle. And whatever you're sitting with is what you're sitting with. And notice that. So, thanks. What else? Do one or two more before we close. Yeah.
I just want to thank the people who shared today. It was a wonderful, wonderful session.
Yeah.
And thank you all very much for your stories. They're very memorable. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. Yeah, I can.
I have a quick question that I could probably just Google. For Lunar New Year,
Yeah.
the lion dance.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a dragon, not a lion. Why is it called the lion dance?
Really? So you're asking me to comment on I'm trying to respond as if I have not known Megan a very long time. What was your question again? Is it a lion?
Tell me about the lion dance.
So Lunar New Year lion dance. My study of lion dances and is just Google it. How about this? You Google it. You tell me the reason it's a lion, because I honestly don't know. And then we can report back next week. But I do know that, Lunar New Year, cultural, it's really cool because someone brought this up the other day, actually when the high school kids came here from High Tech High, and they asked about like Buddhist holidays and things, and they talked about Lunar New Year specifically. And they were kind of surprised when I said that it's not Lunar New Year is not a Buddhist holiday, right? The cultures that, you look at Asian cultures where Buddhism obviously is so prevalent, and they also celebrate Lunar New Year and lots of other holidays. Those are holidays that are around Buddhist temples and Buddhist cultures, but it's not specific. I know you know this, but it's not specific to like a Buddhist thing. But yeah, they're fun. Did you feed them the lettuce and everything?
Red envelope.
Red envelope. You gave them the red envelopes, yeah. With 2 hands, right?
Oh.
Oh, no. You guys got to go back. Take her back. You got to go back to Venerable Miaozong and make sure only offer the red envelope with 2 hands, not 1 hand.
What?
I don't know. It doesn't matter why. Like, there's certain things, and I mean that very seriously. It's a funny thing when you learn Buddhism through like a cultural lens. There are so many things that I learned, whether they have to do with Buddhism or culture or not, I have no idea. But for me, that was part of the beauty, because what do we spend so much of our lives trying to do? Know everything and figure everything out. And why do we want to know everything and figure everything out? So we can be what? In control. I wasn't even going to control, but yes. So we can be right and in control. And so for me, one of the beauties of Buddhist practice and just like following, like, why? I don't know. Why do they do this when they bow? I don't know. Why do we do it X amount of times? I don't know. And it was so nice to just like follow. Yeah. So, but definitely 2 hands. Yeah. What else? We'll do one more before we close. You Googling it right now? Yeah.
I think it's pretty amazing how I wasn't going to come here today, and I did. And I'm so glad I did. And I tend to want to just practice by myself, But coming here today, realizing how much we can affect each other and how that affects other people down the road. The story that was just told about a little while ago about the blind man. I'm sitting here and I'm listening to it, and it automatically pops into my head. About a week ago, I had to leave town real early the next day, and my yard was a mess. So I'm like, I got to get outside there, I got to get my yard cleaned up, and I'll feel better when I leave. So I go out, and it's getting dark, and I'm like, I got like 20 minutes of light left, and I'm out there with my weed eater trying to get done. And my neighbor across the street is this old guy who ended up in a house by himself over the past 6 months. And he's a lonely dude, And so I'm out there working, and he never comes across. And I look up, and he's coming across the street, and all I can think of is like, why now? Why? I have 20 minutes of light. He comes across, and I'm talking to him, and I'm trying to make myself just chill and listen to him. And I did, but I definitely gave up. I want you to go away. And he did, and then I finished my yard real fast, and I ran inside. And then I completely forgot about it. But I remembered that I had told him right as he was leaving, I'm like, hey, I'll come by sometime. He said, oh, I would love that if you did. So I'm sitting here and listening to that story, and it pops into my head. You know,
Yeah.
and like, that's it. Like, I need to go visit him. I need
Yeah.
to visit him this week. I'm going to go get
Yeah.
some ginger beer or something and head over there and say, hey, what's up? And it's crazy because like, the story happens here. The person is generous and shares the story. And then I happen to go there and I listen. And now that story, you know, hopefully he wants me to come over. But potentially that story can have a really good impact on
Yeah.
this other person that she doesn't know. You know?
Yeah.
Maybe I go see him and he feels good and then he does something like
Yeah.
that. So just that chain of positive things.
Yeah, that is karma, the law of cause and effect. And that's why, again, to Carol's point earlier and Dana's share and everybody, like, that's what Sangha is. That's with the beginning when we take refuge, safety, comfort, protection, and community. That's the point of community, to learn from each other, to challenge each other, to hold each other accountable. And it's not easy. But yeah, for me, it's, yeah, when I was a kid, it was baseball practice and a game 3 days a week. And now it's this every day. It's what gets me through every day. So, yeah. All right. So we're going to close on that. Many merit gained from this practice be transferred to all beings in all directions. May all beings be at peace. May all be free from suffering. All right, before y'all head out to go help people, our Dharma Bum host, Ann, has a few announcements. And as Ann's coming up, Tiffany, can you just raise your hand back there? Tiffany will be the one circling up for our monthly temple clean that I'm pretty sure Ann's going to announce anyways. Yeah.
I can't go.
Oh, yeah, once a month. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, there's something after this, and
Tiffany,
meet you out there.
yeah.
We'll meet you out there.
Please help.
Assign you something. Hello, everyone. I'm today's host. My name is Ann. We opened the Dharma Bum Temple 19 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, monks, gurus, or teachers, and are not looking for students. They are simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice. Every night we have different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone with addiction, and our food redistribution program is every Thursday at 4:30. We have classes and programs every day, and everything we offer here is always free. We have silent meditation Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. The full schedule is on our website and is also posted in the entryway above the shoe rack. We have a London library. If you see a book you like, feel free to borrow it and bring it back whenever you are done. Please straighten your seat or cushion before you head out. If a few people could stay to closing that.
You can leave them open. It's fine. Yeah.
Thank you for being here. We wish you well and hope to see you all again.
Thanks, Ann.